just when you thought, wow, are Brooke and Ryan done this time? Here we are.
Will we ever truly be done?
Well, I hope not, because I've told a lot of people about this podcast recently. And I miss it. I wish we could. Honestly, I blame Square Enix, because I feel like 2 years ago we were like, perfect. Kingdom Hearts 4 is around the corner. We will have content for years. We'll never die. And it just wasn't. And I just feel like we're like really slowly moving along.
You said it perfectly. Like, there has not been any mention of Kingdom Hearts 4 in like 2 years. And it felt like there was all this momentum towards it. And they're just sitting on it. And we need it so badly right now. Like, there's a Kingdom Hearts 4 sized hole in my life right now, and actually everything I think would be better in the world if we had Kingdom Hearts 4, but we don't, and there's no clue, there's no sprinkling. I Google Kingdom Hearts 4 maybe once every 2 days, and there's just never anything. It's so depressing.
It's crazy because I actually got an MRI the other day, and where my heart should be was just the Kingdom Hearts moon, and they were like, what is that? And I was like, I need it. It was just like this gaping hole that the doctors had never seen anything like.
It's very funny because I was on a long plane ride, and I just didn't realize how much content we really had. And so I decided to listen to our 365/2 watch party, and it felt like different people processed this information. We know these characters. And yet I was listening to it, I'm like, what is going on? But I'm like, it is still so insane. Like, and I was on the plane, I was sort of like in and out of sleep. It's a fever dream.
I mean, my brother's boyfriend was here and they wanted to play Kingdom Hearts. So I was with them watching them play Kingdom Hearts 1, like through Traverse Town. And here are the two things I'll say about Dan playing Kingdom Hearts 1. 1, I love Kingdom Hearts 1. 2, oh, actually 3 things. 2, I'm not very good at video games. Dan was like, I was like, you might die here. You might, like, it's hard at the beginning. No, not for Dan. Dan, absolutely crushing it. 3, did you know in Destiny Islands, if you long hold jump, you can jump higher and farther. And so, like, when you're racing Riku, you can jump farther a little bit. It's like so tiny, but it makes such an impact, and then you can win.
I did not know that.
I figured it out, which I was like, thank God I'm useful here. But because I was like, the guard armor, like, it's gonna take you a second, and they did it in one shot, and I was like, I'm gonna kill myself.
I think that's kind of the amazing thing about Kingdom Hearts is, like, no matter how many times you do it, you're still not good enough. There's still something else to learn. You still could do it better.
I think it's like I'm not good enough. Like I think that's what I'm saying, is that it's not about one, because I watched someone be exceptional. I just will never be good enough at Kingdom Hearts or in anything in life, if we're being honest.
This is like the last time we had the pod was the Demi Moore Golden Globe speech.
I'm never enough.
Never enough.
That is the last time we spoke.
Yeah.
Ryan and I have been away from each other, and we did just talk for 45 minutes before
we
even
needed it.
starting the podcast. Ryan just was in India. I started a new job. So we've like, that's where we've been. Ryan, how long were you in India for?
2 weeks.
You had like 8 plays get put up.
Something like that, yeah. Let me say this about India, and I want to be respectful of all our listeners. A lot of respect for India, the country. I'm glad I went. I never want to go back.
Wow.
Never, ever want to go back. Here's the thing. It's like Agrabah, you know? It's like Agrabah, except for if Agrabah, like, let's say we're talking about, you know where the pot scorpion is? In that small area, if we were in a city like Jaipur or something, in that space, there would be 3 cows, 12 dogs, 150 Vespas, 200 tuk-tuks, and 50 cars, and all of them would be honking at some point within 5 seconds. And not just like,
including
beep,
the cows.
And well, they'd be going, whoa, and the dogs are barking. Sometimes there are monkeys. People are laying on the horn. But imagine 300 vehicles honking at you at one time. And in the United States, if someone's honking at you, three things are happening. It means they're about to hit you, they're about to like flip you off, or there's a murder in your backseat. In India, it's just like, I'm here. Hello, I'm here. Pay attention to me. And just like, I want the sensory friendly version of India because my brain just could not take it. Like, I was
Mm.
just like rattled all the time. People are almost running over your feet. It's amazing. I'm glad I saw it. So many beautiful pictures, beautiful people, wonderful food. I'm not cut out.
And it's important to know that about yourself.
I like a Japan. I like a like efficient.
Did we talk? We talked about the Dominican Republic, and similarly, I'm obsessed with Dominican people. At least I don't ever need to go back in the way that I did. I need to tell you, have you ever been to Punta Cana Airport?
Yes.
So it's one of the most chaotic flight experiences I've ever had. Like miserable at JFK, the rudest people on the planet I ever like this guy that was in our row was barefoot with his leg crossed with his foot in my face, and he like tried to sit in our seats. It was like, and then we got there and he was like mad at me for being like, you're in my seat. And then it was awful. And then we get to Punta Cana, we get off the plane, and they have you board this shuttle bus. And the shuttle bus takes you like a city block. And imagine the shuttle of New Yorkers being like, what the fuck was that about? And then we were just like, we could have walked. It was wild. And then they do the same thing when you're boarding. They like put you on the shuttle by group, and then you all get on the shuttle, and then boarding the plane is mayhem. And so we were at an all-inclusive, which was all-inclusives are weird. Have you ever been to one?
I've been to one in DR.
Okay. It was all Canadians, God bless them.
Soon to be Americans.
Stop. God forbid. I love Canada. Keep them out. Please take me in. Just like we also didn't do an adults only one, so it was like a lot of kids. And then I feel like you and I would fuck up an all inclusive.
I think we would. Maybe we should.
I think we should go to do a Disney cruise.
Done.
2025, can we do a Disney cruise?
I'm quite free, Brooke.
So we walk into karaoke night at this one bar. And we're not there to like drink. It's just me and my boyfriend. We're just like trying to spend some quality time together and to feel what it feels like to have sun on your face. And also, you know, I'm not a big drinker anymore, but like I don't really get drunk at an all inclusive because it's all watered down. And so, and we're not paying for the premium, you know? And so we get to karaoke night at the all inclusive, which is the name of my memoir. And this bachelorette party is singing Super Bass, which is a chaotic karaoke song. And they continue to choose the most chaotic choices, including but not limited to We Don't Talk About Bruno from Encanto. It's just these two girls, and James has no idea what this is. And I was like, this starts, and I'm like, how are they going to do this? Because famously, this song ends with 7 people singing in the round.
Yeah.
And it didn't go well. So then this woman and this husband come in. She's blackout drunk. And we're like, yes. And she is 5 foot, the most muscular woman I've ever seen. Short, blonde, bleach blonde pixie cut. And we're like, that's a crazy bitch. She gets up there and she starts doing shoop. Her husband is filming and keeps speaking out loud to us, being like, isn't she so crazy? Yeah, she's had a little too much to drink tonight. Our kids are going to find this hilarious. And I'm like, you're filming this. She can hear you. They'll be able to hear you when you show them that you, whatever. It was, every element of this was amazing. So then they are like, what are you going to do? Like, what are you guys going to sing? And I was like, oh, I simply can't. I have crippling stage fright. Like, you don't want to hear me sing anyway, but like and James and I were doing that thing where we're like, what would be the funniest song for me to go up there and like start small and then like end up, you know, like having a main character moment.
Mm-hmm.
So she's kooky crazy and they're like just like talking our ears off. She's from Philly, he's from Canada, they live in Toronto. The bachelorette party comes over and starts talking to us because James and I are just like sitting in the corner and we're like, I guess we're the cool people here that everyone wants to talk to. And the bride, who's 25, we find out, also from Pittsburgh, is like, you guys here on your honeymoon? We're like, no. She goes, oh, so you're just friends. We were like, no.
Those are the only two options.
She was like, well, you never know these days. And we were like, what? James and I have been saying that to each other once a day for the last 2 weeks. Oh, you're on your honeymoon? Oh, no. So you're just friends. Huh? And then this other girl is like, we're like, oh, we're from New York. She goes, where? My friend's from New York. We're like, oh, New York City. Where? Manhattan. Where? The Upper West Side. Like, and she goes, oh, I have a friend that lives in Staten Island. We're like,
of course she does.
I couldn't have written it better. Or she's like, and I'm like, oh, I grew up in Florida. She's like, where? I'm like, Fort Lauderdale. She goes, oh, I know people in Jacksonville. I'm like, oh, cool. So we find out that this woman is a circus performer, the crazy blonde lady, circus performer. And then the next day we find them at the pool. They find us at the pool and we learn a little bit more about them. She was like actively like a Cirque du Soleil performer. She was performing on cruise ships. He was a cruise director. That's their love story. I was like telling him, I teach yoga. Like I was like giving them little bits of information. 3 days after we get back, I wake up to a LinkedIn request from this woman. Girl, you knew I'd find you. And I'm like, on LinkedIn? Like, find me on LinkedIn and then add me on Instagram. Don't add me on LinkedIn. Also,
does a circus performer need LinkedIn?
Well, now she works like a corporate job, I think.
Oh, okay.
The scream I scrolled. So that was like a very rich story generation. You have a go-to karaoke song?
Yeah, it's Faith by George Michael. Oh,
that's a good one for you.
Thank you. Or I also do Rebel Yell by Billy Idol if I'm feeling a little rowdy. What about you?
I like You Oughta Know.
There are songs that people are just always excited to hear, and I feel like in very competent hands that can bring the house down. And these are obviously
I just don't want to sing, and so I like to pick songs that feel like I can talk my way through them.
Exactly. There's nothing worse than picking a karaoke song, realizing you're up there and you're out of your depth.
Yeah, like I would never go up there and try to sing Celine Dion. We know people that could do that and have done that, but that is not. Yeah. I don't want to do that.
You need to have one in your back pocket in case you're forced to, because you don't want to be forced to and then flounder.
What would you give me as a karaoke song?
Have you listened to the new Lady Gaga album?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, How Bad Do You Want Me?
Okay, wait. I love How Bad Did You Want Me. Thank you so much. To me, the he-he's in How Bad Do You Want Me sound like Peter Griffin. He. Yes! Yes! I've been like, it's all I hear. It's all I hear. I just hear he.
I kind of love it. Like, it's almost like a part of they happen 2 times and then it's not that anymore.
Is that true? It's so funny. So I will say some updates, that's so funny. Yours is River Deep, Mountain High.
Wow.
I could just hear you getting up there and be like, when I was a little girl. Or, Simple and Clean. That's in your back pocket for sure.
Yeah.
That's not.
That's Sanctuary. Yeah.
But still, I've been craving replaying Breath of the Wild. And so I wanted to check in where you were at on your Zelda journey to see if you would be interested in doing some iteration of this for Zelda, for Breath of the Wild, and then potentially Tears of the Kingdom.
That's a handshake. That is a handshake. I'm so lost in the video game world because I love to have someone to play with, So this is great. If I can check in with you.
I think we need to sit down and figure out a structure for it, obviously, because it's very open world. And so we would need to, there's 4 main temples in the main story. And so I think we should just choose to go to the same places. So if you're listening and you are a Zelda person and you have suggestions on how we could structure a Breath of the Wild podcast that is called Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts. Please let us know. But I think that could be fun for us.
I'm in. Say no more. It's time. I've got my open worlds under my belt. I've played Hogwarts Legacy. I've done the Fallouts. Like, I get an open world game now in a way I didn't before.
Oh,
I love
I
it.
love it so much.
I'm so excited. I have just one thing to add about something earlier. So the Punta Cana airport,
Uh-huh.
is it have like grass? Is it like made of grass on the ceiling?
There are some of those, yeah.
Okay.
Outside.
So funny story about that place. We went there in 2001 after September 11th. We went through security and we went through customs coming in. We got in super late. We handed them our family's passports and we got our passports back. And we have 4 members of our family. We got 3 passports back. We're like, oh, where's the other passport for my brother? And they're like, oh, you only gave us 3. And we're like, no, we gave you 4 because you just let us all in. They're like, nope. So my brother was trapped in the country. They stole his passport. We had to like go to Santo Domingo to like the consulate.
Whoa.
And years later, we were talking about this because we never found the passport. We're like, is there an Andrew Bernstein running around this country? Sure enough, I Google Andrew Bernstein, and there is an Andrew Jose Bernstein, no joke, who was arrested for public masturbating in Reno, Nevada. I was like, Andrew, it is amazing you got into med school with this doppelganger out there, beating the meat in public, getting caught. Like, a public masturbator has to be really overt if they are getting arrested.
Is Andrew's middle name Jose?
No. So we think they like took his first and last name because I don't know if his middle name was in his passport and they're just like, oh, what's your middle name? They're like, oh, Jose.
Wow.
So careful at that airport, y'all. It's not all fun and games. And
I mean, that was 24 years ago.
yeah. Should we talk about our final Kingdom Hearts bosses from Kingdom Hearts 2?
Yeah, I think we have to, right?
That's the other thing. I think we've been kind of dreading this. Like, we have to do this, and then we have to do our final boss ranking, and then we are free of Kingdom Hearts 2 forever. We're not doing optional bosses. We're not doing secret bosses. We are just doing the bare minimum to be done. You're welcome.
So, starting with Roxas.
Man in the black coat.
You've just, like, traversed through the world that never was. It's dark. There's a lot of Heartless. I've been in this alleyway many a times because I've died many a times playing this battle. He's got 2 Keyblades.
And the music is the do 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 do. It's the Roxas theme.
It's so tender and quiet, contrasted with just like the most intense fighting imaginable.
Stained glass chaos. It reminds me a little bit of the final Ventus fight.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, they're
Parallel.
copies of parallel. Yeah, it's really hard though, like because they do the thing where your buttons change and you have to like get a certain button, and very intense.
Very intense, but very satisfying to beat.
Very sad. Yeah, it's one of those. I call them the stand-up bosses where you're like standing up. You're like, fuck, I just got to get there. You get so close to the end and you're so engaged, then you make like one mistake. Your elixir doesn't go through. Like, would you say it's one of the harder ones in the game?
100%.
Yeah. And as most listeners probably know, this was not in the original. This was a final mix edition.
Oh.
Yeah, we did not fight Roxas. They added this to the story for final mix.
Wow, which is a really good addition, I think.
Sometimes they get it right.
Sometimes they get it right. Sometimes they change the color unnecessarily, and sometimes they add a fight that makes sense.
What would you give it? What would you give this one?
I think I give this like an 8.25. I think it's hard. I think it's like but it's not fun. So it got knocked down a couple bit because it's not fun for me. It's just like really hard, but very like satisfying to beat. You know? What would you
Brooke,
give it?
I think you're exactly right. I'm going to give it an 8.25 as well. It's just like, no, I was like hovering between an 8 and a 9 because it's iconic, but it's not fun. Like it feels like a chore. It wasn't a part of the original game, which I don't know, something it takes away like a quarter of a point for that. It's very exciting, very hard. The music is a little incongruent. And it feels a little anticlimactic for some reason. Like, why are we fighting Roxas right now? Like, why now? Is just because of the other organization members are incoming and we didn't fight this one. It feels a little bit like they shoehorned it in, but it is a good fight. 8.25 is exactly right. Like, no one's going to get mad that we ranked it above an 8. I think people might get mad at us if we were like in the 7 range or 6 range. So 8.25, throw him a bone.
Throwing him a bone. Amazing. Next, we've got Xigbar. The world turned upside down. Which is a fight that I think is a chore, but also fun. And the sometimes the room gets really small. I don't know. What do you think?
I think there's a few things about this fight that I appreciate, and that is there's so many different perspectives to the fight. You're fighting in so many different ways. Like, you have the laser experience, you have the fighting him on sort of the main arena, you have the whiteout to small room configuration where you have to put yourself in the right situation or use your potions judiciously or use an ether or have your magic ready. And so it really is a marathon, and you need to kind of be ready for each of the sections. And he's also got a lot of personality. Like, I love a chatty boss. We know I love a chatty boss. And he's giving like playful adversary, which I appreciate.
Yeah. I mean, he's just got so much charisma.
Yeah.
Like, I love him.
It wasn't he or Delta Up for like the entire series. Yeah. This is where he sells it. And that's the thing is, like, cutscenes only tell so much of the story. Like, if you're finally fighting someone, you want to get to know their character through their fighting style, and you really do through this. Like, it's sort of the same way with, like, Demix. Like, when you fight Demix, like, it's very clear who that person is.
I will say that in the... I was just going to say, like, I think for the organization battles in this game throughout, I feel like they are really aligned with their personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's something that the game does really well. That the game does really well with the organization members. Yeah,
they each kind of have their own thing. All right, I'm gonna give this one a score. I'm very curious to see what you give it. And maybe I'm too high, maybe I'm too low, but I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm gonna give it a 9.
A 9.
Is that too high?
You think this is better than the Roxas fight?
For sure. I just think it requires more. I don't know. It's more fun. It has more personality, and I think it requires you using different parts of your brain. So it's like a really fun challenge rather than just like hard.
I was gonna give it a 7.75.
Love it. That's why we are the best co-hosts around, because we balance each other out. We no bullshit. Tell it like it is.
And then we've got Luxord, our cardsman. I don't love this one. This one feels tedious and not in a fun way at all. It's like just like you're surrounded by cards. You like get turned into the card sometimes. I just feel like he has a shtick and we get it. We get it. Enough.
You say this is a boss fight. This is a fucking mini game, bitch.
Whoa.
Yeah. This is not like turning me into a dice. What the fuck? Like it just doesn't feel. It's tricky, but not hard, and there is no part of me that has the fear of a boss. It's just sort of like, I gotta get through this in order to advance the game. And the thing is, like, I don't even really understand why he's there. It's just, it feels like they're checking a box, and we'll check it, but we won't be happy about it.
That's right. I'm gonna give it a 4.75. I'm really not into whole numbers right now. I'm giving decimals. I'm just, nothing feels whole anymore.
I'm gonna give it, I was between a 4.5 and a 5.
Wow. Well, there is a decimal in there.
I think I'm gonna give it a 5. I'm gonna be a little generous with it.
Okay.
Just because I mean, they tried something. They took a big swing. It's not just fighting a guy. Like, they were trying something. It didn't work out, but
And
whatever.
that is his shtick.
Yeah.
So
And also, I'm looking at the spreadsheet, and the hyenas are at a 4.5, and he deserves better than the hyenas. Maybe. How embarrassing, though. Fearsome goatee man being beat out by a bunch of hyenas. Okay. Next, Axel's jilted gay lover, Saix.
this is where you like take over the robots with the hockey sticks and you start hitting them. And I can't think of what the action command is, but I can picture it.
Do you want me to give you a clue?
Yeah.
It starts with a B.
It's not like blastums. It's berserk.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brooke Wiseman.
I love when I get things right. Yeah, you berserk. It's giving hockey fight. It's giving Canada. It's giving Metalman. I like this one more than the Luxord one. This one is just like a perfectly, like, it doesn't feel super unique to Saix. I guess he like has his big hammer thing, and so like that's why we're doing that. But I just feel like this fight mechanism could be anyone. And this is just this is like the third one of 3 fights that we do like in that little room. And so it's just like, it's a little bit like repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like it. I'm going to give it, do you want to speak to it before I rank it?
No.
I'm going to give it a 7. This is a whole number for me.
Okay. This, we're clearly on the same page. Like, when I ranked World That Never Was kind of low in our world ranking, and it caused a bit of a kerfuffle. This boss fight is sort of what I was thinking of when I'm like, enough already. Like, it's just getting repetitive. We don't need to fight everyone. This boss fight just feels like one too many. This is the penultimate boss fight before Xemnas, and it feels just like we had to get through Saix, see as nobody, to get to the end. And I do appreciate the berserk thing, but we've been doing that with all the nobodies, and so we sort of get here, and it doesn't feel like a boss fight that should be here. It should have happened anywhere else along the journey. Like, it should have happened in the Cave of Wonders in Agrabah. It should have happened, I don't know, like the Zoldan Beast Castle. It should have been somewhere else, like Disney Castle. I don't care. So it's just a little underwhelming to me. It's a fine fight. I'm going to give it a 6.
All right.
Which brings us
finally to Xemnas.
Big bad.
I think this is a really good final boss. There's no boobies. There's no are there muscles? Like exposed muscles?
Always a little bit, but they're not flesh colored, so.
Ugh, I hate that fucking thing. What's it called? I hate it.
The World of Darkness. Ugh. World of Chaos. My brain. Yeah. That's what the inside of my brain looks like.
It's just that like ship with the head, with the mast is like a skull. I hate it. This is the one with the big white room. Yeah.
So, like, we're kind of ranking the entire Xemnas experience in one. Like, he's throwing the buildings at you. He's sitting in the throne. He's in the white room wearing
He's in, like, the scorpion thing.
Exactly.
I could never beat this in my childhood. I never finished Kingdom Hearts 2 because this was too hard.
Right.
I think there's the Riku element.
Yeah. Well, there's also, like, the chase, like, the spaceship chase as well. We're getting a lot of different stuff.
And there's the throwback to the, like, tutorial when you're, like, jumping and learning how the triangle works. Like, it really all feels like it's leading up from the moment you start the game to this battle. I'm going to give it a 10.
Really?
I think, yeah.
Okay.
I love it. I think it is one of the best boss battles in the game, in the series.
Wow. Okay.
It's hard. It's fun. Like the Riku of it all. Like their stakes obviously are high, and like the evolution of it makes sense to me. I think it's good.
Okay. I'm going to. You have some flexibility with me here. Like, I'm going to toggle a little bit. You can convince me. Like, in my head, this was a 7 because
Whoa.
it for me. It just goes on too long. Like, it's just if there was a save point at some juncture where you could just sort of like stop, regroup, be like, "Whew, I got through that. That was crazy."
Yeah.
Continuing on, there's just something about the fact that like you're fighting the buildings, now you're fighting throne room, now you're in a ship, now you're fighting the hardest part, which is the white room with Riku experience. It's
Yeah.
just so overwhelming, and I appreciate all of it, but I can't
Yeah.
enjoy it because there's no break. You don't get a break, and you can't appreciate it because you can't really regroup. And so that's why it's a 7 for me. I appreciate everything that's going on, but that's why as a kid, you're not preparing for one boss battle that's really hard. You're preparing for 4. And so that takes 4 times as long to finish. And, you're a kid, you want to get back and start playing the game and finding the treasures. And I think a lot of people put down their controller and never picked it up again.
Wow. That's a great point. That makes me bring it down to 9.5.
Okay.
The save point is a really good. That is point knock worthy.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I could bring mine up to.
No.
No.
I mean, you still can.
No.
But I stand by.
I'm gonna bring mine up to 7.25 just to.
Okay.
Just you take a little, I give a little. I give a little, you take a little. Pick a little, talk a little. Cheap.
Reek a little.
Reek a little. So we did it. We have officially ranked all the bosses, which means that we're gonna do a big countdown, then a little Breath of the Wild. We're gonna add to our pantheon of hot takes, and
you can't wait to upset a whole new subset of people.
They love us. We would have upset them far earlier, right?
That's true.
Last question for you, Brooke. If you had an imaginary 50 money, MUNNY, to put on when Kingdom Hearts 4 is going to come out, when would you guess? Month, year?
January 28.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, I don't want that to be the truth, but that is potentially what I think. I think 27 or 28. Oh, it still has no release date in sight.
Okay, well, I was going to guess like Christmas of 2026. So I hope we're wrong. All the more reason for us to fill the time with other content.
There's a D23 in August, so hopefully we'll get an update in August. But what were you going to say?
I'll tell you the next one, actually.
You can't do that to me.
Okay. So basically, long story short, so my birthday's coming up, and we do these 4-course dinners with my friend Ashton, and so it's my birthday, so I get to pick the theme. And so last year my theme was elements: earth, air, fire, water.
So cool.
Ashton's favorite foods was the last one. This year theme is Kingdom Hearts Worlds. So Chad,
when is it?
It's like March something, or like early April. So he told me the world. It's gonna be Remy's restaurant in Twilight Town, Agrabah, Destiny Islands, and Hollow Bastion, Maleficent's house with sea salt ice cream.
Maleficent's house. Wait, that's so cute.
I know, we had a really good, we watched Aladdin last night. He was coming up with ideas. So yeah, it'll be fun.
He's the best. You're so lucky.
He's the best. I know.
He's lucky too. You both are lucky.
Well, we feel like we're the only sane people in each other's lives. So, who in Kansas City? Not.
I'm not sane by any means.
Thanks for listening.
Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. If you're looking to connect our hearts, follow us on Instagram at KingdomHearts_pod. And if you want to enter the realm of darkness that is our lives, follow us. I'm at Brooke Wiseman.
And I'm at Rye Bernstein. See you next week.
Kingdom Hearts,
the podcast.